Shoot the Breeze topic number 1 tonight. Shoot the Breeze topic number 1 says, be like this, sister, and think about nation building. We desperately need African urban planning. This is why I put 2 prompts together. I think it'll work out just fine. Gotta find okay, I got it. So I'm sharing my screen with you guys. You guys should be able to see my screen as well. Let me just close this out and check back, make sure it's there. Okay, so you guys can see my screen. This is a tweet from NZ. It says Africans should be doing videos like this and make it a form of protest. I love what this Ghanaian lady is doing here. So we'll play it and then we'll discuss it.
If we converted this storm drain into a transport channel like Venice or Thailand, could you get into it? Accra's traffic problem isn't just that there are too many cars. It's that we rely almost entirely on roads, and those roads are full. We don't just need more roads. We need another way to move people. Here's an idea. Accra already has these long stormwater drain corridors. What if, instead of seeing them as fish channels, we upgraded parts of them into canal-like transport channels? Not everywhere, not all at once. We start small. A stretch like this in Dome is perfect because it already sits inside major flood control and drainage plants, and it already moves through some of the busiest corridors in Accra. Because even one modest pilot on this one Dome stretch could move up to extra 4,000 people a day without adding a single car to the road. It doesn't replace trucks or buses, it supports them. Think of it as opening a new highway, but on water. But Amma, this all sounds great. But how's it now? From some boats and call it innovation? Well, I'm glad you asked. You have to prepare the corridor. Sanitation, waste interception, and stormwater management are a must to get it right. Because if we do, we are also solving drainage and flooding in the city. Hey, Accra, another video. So here's the plan. Step 1, open up the channel. You dredge and desilt the channel so the water flows properly again, because no flow means no transport. Step 2, stop the trash before it arrives. You install trash traps and floating barriers upstream so the plastic waste doesn't keep coming in. And this needs daily removal. No excuses. Step 3, clean and stabilize the water. You reduce stagnant sections to improve flow, and you treat hotspots. Because if you can board it like a trotro, people will use it. Step 5, use the right boats. That is small, shallow draft commuter boats. Low speed, high frequency, reliant, very boring, but very efficient. And now, the harsh truth. The real project is cleaning, managing, and stabilizing the corridor. Because if you can do that, you're essentially doing more than building a transport system. You are taking one of Accra's most neglected spaces and turning it into working infrastructure. And if it works, you replicate it across other corridors, and suddenly you're moving tens of thousands of people daily. So the real question is, do we keep fighting for space? Or do we use the infrastructure we already have differently? What do you think? Could this work in your African city? Let us know in the comments. Thank you. Bye. Let's talk.
I like that a lot. I agree with Trigger as well. Trigger in the chat says very intelligent sister right here. I got to look more into her. I don't know her background. And I don't know if she's on YouTube. I've only seen stuff on X for her. I've only seen stuff on X for her, so I gotta look into it. Before I go to the, you know what? I'm gonna go to the second video for the continuity. So this is another. Let me share this tab. So this is another. Hold on a second, y'all. Y'all know the deal. This sound thing disconnects every time I do it, so forgive me. Let me reshare. All right, so this is another poster called Without History. It says, really love what she is doing. Have to save African cities practically. Let me just double check, make sure you guys are seeing my screen. Great, you guys can see my screen. I'm going to play this video and I'll introduce my panelists and we'll discuss.
What if Accra's biggest development projects, the next days, used to feel normal, but now they feel like luxury? In the name of development, we've cut down trees to build hot houses, hot streets, and hotter cities. And then we're surprised when Accra feels like an oven. Right now, Accra's tree cover is only 10%. Compare that to cities like Johannesburg, where it's 20 to 25%, or Singapore, where it's 40 to 50%. Now, a livable city should be 20 to 30%. World class, 40% and above. And that's where we should be aiming in the next 10 to 15 years. world class. Because trees are not just decoration. Have you seen how the sun is hitting me? They are shade, cooling, and honestly, sometimes survival. Now, if we're cutting trees this fast, then we need to plant them even faster. Now, normally, this is where someone says, government should plant more trees. Let's be honest. Government alone is not planting millions of anything. So here's a different idea. What if this wasn't a government project? What if this was a citizen-led citywide challenge? Introducing the 5 million tree challenge. Every household, every school, every church, every business, every community center. You plant and it counts, not in a research or report, but on a live public map. Now imagine opening your phone and seeing your streets, your neighborhood, your school, and how many trees you've planted. Are you guys seeing this win? This is from the trees. Now imagine seeing that your neighborhood is behind. What do? You plant. Now we add leaderboards, greenest school, greenest district, greenest neighborhood. And this isn't charity. Now it's a challenge. And we don't reward people with small money. Winning neighborhoods will get upgrades to their roads, street lights, their playgrounds, anything that they want. Visible upgrades. So now trees are not just good, they are useful. Then we remove friction completely. Seedlings should be everywhere. Schools, church, fuel station, coconut lady down the road. And we plant the right trees. Big canopy trees like rain trees for roads and public spaces. Fast resilient trees like neem for homes and streets. Wide layered trees like almond for shade and beauty. Not all trees are equal. Some will give you shade in 3 years, some will give you shade in 20 years. So we have to be smart, plant smart. So let's do the math. If every household in Accra planted 2 to 3 trees each, that would mean up to 5 million new trees. And this is without government intervention or expansion year 2. So then imagine if government then also mandated that every 10 meters there's a tree on both sides of the road. It's another 2 billion trees. Now we're getting to that 20 to 30% livable city. But this cannot work if you are planting trees on one side and you're cutting them on another side. So this only works if we are protecting the trees that we have and planting more. What do you think? Could this work in your African city? Let us know in the comments. Let's talk. Bye.
We're ready to make this a reality. Come join us. Tap the link in bio to join the BFAT movement to green our cities and stay tuned for updates.
I had a similar thought as that second video. For my own hometown, I was thinking if you could inspire the people to, urban upkeep, keep the streets up to, like keep the roads nice, weed down the yards that have overgrown and been neglected. And the government should kind of create a system to kind of reward the different constituencies, for example, for being best kept and make it kind of a friendly competition, just like what she described. And it's interesting to see how, when you're thinking about
movements to green our cities and stay tuned.
When you're thinking about the issues, you realize other people in other places are thinking similarly as well. So that's two real good videos from this young sister. Like I said, I would like to learn more about her. Trigger Happy says she might have a TikTok. I'll look into her as well. She cooks heavily with the second video. You can even apply this with people wearing suits in humid climates. LOL. Yeah, she does have a TikTok. I followed her the other day, actually. He said I was looking into Amazon groups lately, and one thing Brazilian loggers do is cut down so many trees. What that does is actually increase mosquito attacks and animal attacks. In general, he says trees give habitats to animals, which is why there needs to be a constant replanting of trees. Lastly, Trigger Happy says in Africa especially, it was normal to have planting trees in your backyard too. Gardening needs to be mandatory in schooling or at least communal gardening. Absolutely. Wonderful thoughts there, Trigger Happy. Let me introduce Buana this week. Buana, how are you this week?
I'm good, Coco. How are you, brother?
I'm hanging in there, man. I'm hanging in there.
Yeah, I saw the second one, but I get the gist of it. Right. I think it's a great idea, Coco. The idea of urban planning and the use of nature and shrubbery to assist, because the trees actually does do a lot of things in terms of keeping the place cool, having a place to sit, especially for the elderly. Sometimes, we used to sit under the trees at school sometimes when the classrooms used to get too hot in the summer. So there's value to the usage of a tree and the uses of nature. And I really agree with that. I don't want to sound like a bar humbug, Coco. Because I know sometimes you say I sound like a bar humbug, but just think about it. Just consider it. The only issue that I have in terms of this urban planning and the use of trees and shrubbery is it has to be maintained and well kept and kept up. Because what usually happens around here is the overgrowth. Sometimes when the government don't assist in cutting down the overgrown trees that sometimes grown in the road and stuff like, sometimes they'll take years to come back. And I believe that the people should step in if they have the equipment to manage trees from getting in the roads and interfering with power lines and things of that nature. And also the, and the thing with maintenance, when you have heavy storms and hurricanes, sometimes the branches could be a bit of an issue when these things are not properly maintained and well kept. And that's the only issue that I would have with in terms of building with nature. Because I'm an advocate in that, and I also I'm an advocate in terms of having areas, the best well kept area get certain benefits, certain things if they have the best areas. It used to be a time, Coco, where over the hill used to be some of the most well kept places in Nassau, and because back in the day, the elderly or the older people, our older people had a pride in ownership. And it was really only when these houses started being rented out to other people where these areas start to fall into disrepute. It used to be a time you couldn't go in certain places, even quote unquote poor areas in the Bahamas, and them places used to be spick and span because the people who lived in those areas owned the houses that they lived in. And when they start renting out, you start seeing the mismanagement of these areas, and some of us became even slumlords. But needless to say, I do believe in growing with nature, but I believe that there is a maintenance element that should be kept up with, because sometimes with nature can get out of hand, especially when you don't keep up with it you know
What I would add to that, and one I know exactly what you mean because I come from over the hill, and I could tell you something, man. My grandfather and grandmother them, they used to get up early in the morning, 4 day as they used to call it, right? 4 day in the morning, and they used to rake and sweep and clean up in front of the yard. When summertime came, ask daily affirmations by Paulie. When summertime came, now so the bombs get really hot and it can get dry. My grandfather take buckets of water, swash down the road and the dirt and stuff like that, so the dust could keep down. So you're right; those older folks did take a pride in maintaining the area. And you're right again. When a lot of those older folks died out, and those houses started to get empty or started to be rented out, folks don't see the what's the term I'm trying to find? Folks don't see the responsibility of keeping up those areas. But like this video, no, like Trigger Happy mentioned, one of the reasons why there's so much mosquitoes and all this kind of stuff, because people got these yards overgrown, old cars, old vessels that can hold water from the rain or what have you, and all this kind of stuff. And what I liked about the video from this sister, I'm going to play the first video again too, because I think that's important. We don't really have that capability so much in where we're from, but in terms of the first video. But the thing about it is, if you get the people thinking along the lines of we got to do community work, then it's not as laborious as some might think. If everyone is chipping in, hey, pick up that garbage, let's sweep here. This yard is left here neglected. Let's cut down this bush, because not only for the things we mentioned already, but it's also, as you know, in Nassau, is also a hazard in terms of people setting up to rob you and all this kind of thing like that. So let's do these things. And what I would like people to start doing, what I like African people, Black people to start doing, is You start the work. And then you go to the government and say, listen, this is what we do over here. And we would like y'all assistance to make this a program across the nation, et cetera, et cetera. There's a day in, is it Ghana or Nigeria? Or maybe both. But there's a day in certain communities in those places where everyone comes out and they cut down the bush, they fix a road, they, what have you. Really and truly, it's about people power. This idea of sitting down waiting for the government all the time. Now, some things you'll need the government because you might need bigger machines, right? But there's things that we can do, and there's things that we ought to do. One of the things I can't believe we don't do more of is plant more fruit trees around. When I was home last time, for those of you in the chat who might not know, there's a fruit called guava. My aunt was telling me you can't find guava that much around anymore. So there's like a dish, a dessert we make called guava duff that people start using. Buana might remember. People start using, was it banana or strawberry or something like that? I think it's banana or something people use.
Yeah, guava duff. You know what I eat cocoa. You know how long I eat a guava or ganep. I see a ganep tree for so long. Lord have mercy. I haven't seen a ganep tree in ages.
That's a shame, Buana. Buana, we used to go around raiding people tree and all kind of stuff. People used to, them big adults would be like, I will throw hot piss on you if I catch you in my tree. Like it used to be around, and I can't believe that we ain't taking time to, you eat the mango, you suck the mango, throw that seed in the ground, and let that thing grow. Guava. Like it's insanity. But we've just become this complacent set that just sit back and we don't caretake anymore. We don't caretake the culture. We don't caretake the community. And I think that's a shame. And if you don't caretake, that means you ain't going to innovate. If you don't caretake, it means you won't innovate. So I'm going to play the first video that Buana didn't see. And I think this is very smart what this young lady was talking about here. So you guys, for who may have come in late, we'll play it again.
If we converted this storm drain into a transport channel like Venice or Thailand, could you ride it? Let's get into it. A crash traffic problem isn't just that there are too many cars. It's that we rely almost entirely on roads, and those roads are full. We don't just need more roads. We need another way to move people. Here's an idea. Accra already has these long stormwater drain corridors. What if, instead of seeing them as waste channels, we upgraded parts of them into canal-like transport channels? Not everywhere, not all at once. We start small. A stretch like this in Dome is perfect because it already sits inside major flood control and drainage plants, and it already moves through some of the busiest corridors in Accra. Because even one modest pilot on this one Dome stretch could move up to extra 4,000 people a day without adding a single car to the road. It doesn't replace truck roads or buses, it supports them. Think of it as opening a new highway, but on water. But Amma, this all sounds great. But how is it practical? You can't just drop some boats in here and call it innovation. How about you ask? You have to prepare the corridor. Sanitation, waste interception, and stormwater management are a must to get it right. Because if we do, we are also solving drainage and flooding in the city. Hey, flooding in Accra. Another video. So here's the plan. Step 1, open up the channel. You dredge and desilt the channel so that water flows properly again. Because no flow means no transport. Step 2, stop the trash before it arrives. You install and flow barriers upstream for the path coming in. And this needs daily removal. No excuses. Step 3, clean and stabilize the water. You reduce stagnant sections, you improve flow, and you treat hotspots. That means less smell, fewer mosquitoes, and a corridor that people can actually use. Step 4, you build simple commuter stops. Just clean, safe, well-lit boarding points at important transport nodes. Because if you can board it like a truck, people will use it. Step 5, use the right boats. That is small, shallow draft commuter boats. Low speed, high frequency, reliant, very boring, but very efficient. And now, the harsh truth. The real project is cleaning, managing, and stabilizing the corridor. Because if you can do that, you're essentially doing more than building a transport system. You are taking one of Accra's most neglected spaces and turning it into working infrastructure. And if it works, you replicate it across other corridors, and suddenly you're moving tens of thousands of people daily. So the real question is, do we keep fighting for space? Or do we use the infrastructure we already have differently? What do you think? Could this work in your African city? Let us know in the comments. Thank you. Bye. Let's talk.
Yeah, Buana, what are your thoughts on that?
Coco, I wish we had urban planners like this. And also, I wish we had the political will of people to have buy-in to things like that. See, the Bahamas is a place that if you say that you are independent, then you're supposed to have the independence of thought. The independence of thought, you learn or you have an idea how you would like your city to be structured, how you like the people to be able to move around, and the political will to get these big item things done. We still one of the biggest issues since you was a child in the Bahamas, we have an issue of flooding, especially when it rains heavily, right? And you would think that some person who went to school for environmental engineering or things like that would go to the government and say, "Hey, here's an idea to solve the flooding crisis that befalls us every time in the rainy seasons in the Bahamas." And the people just sitting. It's like we between here and the deep blue sea. And this sister is trying to solve on a practical level issues that may befall her city in terms of it being there's the degree of congestion. You say, well, this is another way of traveling through the city and getting from point A to point B. When used to live in England, England did the same thing too. They had barges where if they wanted to get from one city to another city, you could either travel by a train, by a car, or even if you have barges like small boats and things like that, to be able to go from one area to another area. Privately, people own their own boats. This is how they travel through the city of England or the UK. And I think that this is a brilliant idea for people like us in terms of managing the countries and how to structure it in such a way that there's an ease of doing certain things within the country itself. In terms of cleaning, I think the city we had an idea of cleaning and using the garbage as energy. I don't know where that idea got. That idea got up and spoke. But Kagame in Rwanda, he has the civilians, the people in the area, they have a day of cleaning where everyone is mandatory that everyone should come out and clean their neighborhood. And you are conditioning the minds of the people to think in a certain way. Cleanliness is first in our society. So you're kind of restructuring the thinking of people. So whether they in Rwanda or outside of Rwanda, they have a culture of cleanliness. So like I say, some of these are small ticket ideas that you could implement in your society. Some of these are a little bit bigger, where in terms of money and in terms of political will, I think that it'll be very good in restructuring these old colonial countries, because the British they don't have a monopoly on how you could structure society where people could live well together, But she has the vision, and I hope that she ain't the only person with these kinds of vision, and I hope that the leaders have an ear to listen to people like these when they come around, because they don't always come around. They come around every term, and sometimes the numbers are very small. But I hope that the leaders have intelligence enough to listen to these kinds of people and would like to implement the ideas that they have. The roads that we have in the Bahamas are so narrow. They're not built. They're not built for the kind of cars that's purchased, the American cars that's purchased to drive on Bahamian roads. This is a problem. This is an issue, and I could get into a whole lot of nonsensical things, but this prompt is specifically for nation building, and I wish that we had more civil engineers and environmental engineers where the leaders have a deference to try to implement these kinds of ideas to make it more comfortable for the citizens of a country to live in. I think that these are forward-thinking people, and you can't let these people just come, present ideas, and just pass on to the next political whatever party who does nothing for another 30 years. I think is a very good thing to do, Coco.
I was talking to Brother Bakari maybe 2 weeks ago, and I was talking about Julian Brown, the young black American guy who made a apparatus to use plastic waste to make gasoline from plastic. And I was telling Bakari 2 weeks ago, I was like, a great thing for that kid would be, say, countries like ours, or anywhere in the Caribbean or what have you, where there's so much waste, particularly plastic waste and stuff like that, where you clean up the neighborhoods, you send this plastic waste to one of these refineries that he has built, and you know, you do two things at once. You create the plasticine, and you also clean up the neighborhoods. In fact, I had a video I posted on the Discord with Julian Brown speaking about how there's different types of plastic and how in reality, like in America, they don't even really recycle that plastic. That goes into a landfill somewhere because of different types of plastic, etc. But you take that kid and you say, hey, okay, we're going to start an initiative around this plasticine. We're going to put a community competition, different areas, different constituencies in our case, Warner. You guys clean up the plastic waste. You send it to this kid over here out in Carmichael Road or something like that, and he's going to turn this waste into a usable fuel. I think that's something that we should be looking into, and you know, a kid like that, a young man like that, you give him somewhere to stay, etc. for his efforts, you can make that happen. But the people is really the government, but people don't recognize that. Take the time, get the people organized and thinking in these manners. And like she said in the other video, you could make it a friendly competition where there's a leaderboard. You could teach the children something, get the children enthusiastic, to have bragging rights about their neighborhood, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we're not doing anything. Real quick, I had a video, Buana, and I should have added it to this prompt, and I forgot. Frank Zanu. Here comes Frank Zanu again. Frank Zanu has a video where he's talking to two young African kids, I think, on a podcast. And he says something like, what is the word for maintenance in your African language? And they were like, well, there's no one-to-one translation. And he was like, yeah, there's no word for it because we don't think about maintenance. Buana, do you think as African people, we have a thing where we don't think about maintenance, we only think about repair?
Absolutely. Well, I don't know what it would. I don't know what it would be in the Bahamian parlance, but I think that the old people had that idea because they had something in terms of a pride of ownership. So when they get something, they would have it for 30 and 40 years. Your grandmother probably had dishes and clothes before she died, what she'd have had for 30 and 40 years, because there's something in us where we had a pride of ownership. You have to maintain these things for a long time. You have to upkeep these things for a long time. Maybe because you don't have enough money to buy another one, or maybe because this is something that you created and you want to be able to maintain these things for a very long time. We built things for things to last a long time. So when we did things, we did it correctly, so much so that you could use a chair that was built in 1970, and that same rocking chair you built in 1970, your grandchildren would still be able to use. So in terms of building a thing properly to last and not abusing it so much so that it'll fall into disrepute after 1 year and 2 years and 3 years. But in terms of maintenance, that we had this idea of pride and ownership. So the upkeep was important to the minds of the Bahamian at the time. Now we live in a fast food world where something break or something, you have a hole in your shoe, you don't go to the shoe man to sew it up no more. You go on Amazon and you just buy another one. You buy another one instead of going to the shoe man and having to repair it because you want something to be able to last. I don't know where that went. I don't know, because we bought into the culture of consumerism so much, where something seemed to break, a little small thing, instead of maintaining, we're going to just buy another one. Don't worry about it, just buy another one. So I don't know where that consumerism kind of caused the the idea of maintenance to wane in our hearts and minds. But I do believe we should get back to that. I don't know what the African word is for it, but I do think back in the day we used to have this idea of the pride and ownership and upkeep. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, Pinewood Gardens, I think you were alluding to, but all in that. So I remember it would rain, and as kids, you would have to walk through the middle of the street because some puddles were so bad, like up to your ankles and stuff like, above your ankles and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely know what you was referring to. Um, Provide triggers for evolution says there needs to be a collective cleaning program in Ghana for sure, particularly in the beach areas. Trigger happy. He agrees with that. Sister Cheryl is out there saying no excuses. Oh, I like that. Um, Cheryl says she's enthusiastic. I love that. Yeah, the sister is very enthusiastic. Um, Trigger is talking about extraction and mining and all that. That's cool. Trigger says a day of cleaning is a great start. Definitely wanted to be where it becomes a permanent culture. Day of cleaning definitely needs to be a start. Yeah, I don't know what it would take, but we need, just like how we talk about you have to hit the streets and hit the pavement here in the States and all that stuff, we got to hit the pavement in these African nations to take some pride in the upkeep and the cleaning and the cleanliness of the country and stuff like that. Sister Cheryl says they used to have cleaning day in her neighborhood. That was more than 30 years ago. LOL. Trigapi says whoever dominated recycling will make lots of money. There's a business right there and will help us environmentally in the future. Hopefully, we get to a point where plastic is abandoned too. Yeah. Hopefully, we'll get to that point as well. Um, but if I was in charge of the country where I'm from, I'm telling you, I would watch that kid and I'd say, man, you come and help us clean up, keep these beaches free of all this plastic waste and all this kind of stuff. Sister Cheryl says there was a man-made microbe designed to eat plastic. Let me find the story. Yeah, actually, there's a mushroom actually that feeds off of that feeds off of plastic and breaks it down as well. Real Black Gentleman, RBG's in the chat. He says, I wear 20-year-old clothes and 10-year-old shoes. Bonner made a point about the shoes and stuff. I remember I used to go all the time. I used to go to the tailor shop to get pants darned and all that stuff, or downed as we say. And I used to go to the shoe man to re-stick the bottom of shoes and all that kind of stuff. So I definitely know what Bonner's talking about. But nowadays, like Bonner said, people just throw them things away and buy one new. Shout out to Brother Bakari in the chat. Says peace and Black African power, Black African family. Shout out to you. Lastly, Provide Trigger says plastic containers for food storage is problematic too, and it's often carcinogenic. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like we have all this information. What Bob Marley them saying? The abundance of water, the fool is still thirsty. We have all this information. We know all of this stuff, but it's to create the initiative within the people to really go out there and say, we're going to do something to change this. And I don't know why it hasn't been done, especially in nations where we're the majority people. You know what I mean? Bonnie, you have any last thoughts on this front?
I would tell the sisters. I would tell the sisters. You watch the man who is who takes care and has pride in the way that he gets handles himself. First of all, how he has the clothes, how he manages these things, his shoes. If he is able to maintain certain things on a small level, he'll be able to maintain you as well. He can just get rid of you the first sign of cracks in the relationship. He can try to see how he can repair it because he have a culture of doing that in his own personal way and his own personal self, so he can maintain you in the same way instead of trading you and then getting another one.
That's a fact. The same way fellas about their shoes and all that type of stuff. You guys, us guys, need to be the same way about our environment as well. Um, Provide Trigger says the leadership is simply not there. If Kagame can do it, so can the others. Yeah, I'm a believer in. I've become a believer in don't rely on the government to do that. A lot of times, the people who are in government, they're not in areas where these types of things affect them. So it doesn't matter to them. It's for the people, especially, and I'm talking to the men in particular now. It's for the men to come together and say, nah, man, we can't have this yard full of bush here. It's a danger. It's a safety issue. It's an environmental issue in terms of what kind of hazards will flock to that kind of stuff. We gotta take that leadership there. There's other things that women can do. You know what I mean? But that type of thing, we supposed to be encouraging that ourselves, man.
Yeah, I
With that
agree with
said,
that.
let me go to shoot.
Just briefly, Koku. In terms of
Yeah, go ahead.
Koku mentioned in terms of Koku mentioned and the men, I am a person who maintain my yard, okay, and in the community I live in, because I started doing that, you see other young men doing the same thing as too. So we have a saying in the Bahamas: "Monkey see, monkey do." So people feel away with because they see me dumping the leaves and dumping the cut. I don't have high Haitians to cut my yard. I do it my goddamn self. So when people see that, so well, we could do this, we should do the same thing too. So it catch on like a virus. Not only does bad things catch on in the community, good things is catch on as well. And when people see you doing it, they're gonna feel guilty to do it as well, to try to do it as well. That's a thing we have with black people. Once they see something that somebody else doing it, they go and copy it. So copy good things in the neighborhood, and hopefully the other people surrounding you will want to copy the same things as well, especially for the men.
Well said, Juan. Well said. Just real quick, I remember. I don't see it in the States so much, but I remember there was a time, like in Nassau on a Sunday, you'll see guys wash their car, wax it down, and have it like wax for a couple of hours before they go and shine it again. That was a thing, and you used to go to different. I mean, in my area, you used to go to different blocks and see guys all around washing their car and waxing it and stuff like that. I don't know if that still happens, but like Buana said, monkey see, monkey do. So that's something that intelligent brothers who have some consciousness about yourself, it's something for you all to start doing. You know what I mean? Let's go to Shooter Breeze topic number 2.